Well, what's going on, everyone? Bran here from Bloody Breakdown. And I'll be honest with you, it's about damn time we get some Texas Chainsaw Massacre news, isn't it? I mean, it's like, what, a year and a half ago almost at this point when we found out that Fede Alvarez was going to be involved in a what was being sold as a potential legacy sequel, even though we've already had one, to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So it's been a while since we really got any big updates. I thought that this article from Bloody Disgusting would be a good time to jump back in to talk about this upcoming Texas Chainsaw Massacre film, which in my opinion has to be good. Oh, Jesus Christ, does it have to be good? Kind of like the next Hellraiser that I think is being quietly worked on right now. There was some rumblings about some stuff maybe a few months to a year ago, but we're talking Texas Chainsaw, folks. God, this movie's got to be good. It's really got to be good. I'm hoping. So yeah, before we get into this, leave a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, turn on notifications if this channel's your thing, and check the description section below. I've got a link to Patreon and Twitter, so feel free to follow me and support my work if that's what you so choose to do. So let's jump into this thing and let's talk about this article. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Fede Alvarez confirms the new movie is a sequel with Old Man Leatherface. And we'll get into that in just a minute because I have some opinions about that as well. Let's just go ahead and start reading this article. So, announced last year, Fede Alvarez, of course, of Don't Breathe and Evil Dead, is producing a feature film that will bring the Texas Chainsaw Massacre back to the big screen, with an official website recently being launched for the upcoming movie. David Blue Garcia directed the movie for Legendary, which was written by Chris Thomas Devlin and filmed last year. Speaking with Bloody Disgusting, the Boo Crew podcast this week, Alvarez confirmed the new movie is indeed a sequel to Tobe Hooper's original classic, as we had suspected. Alvarez also dropped the exclusive bomb. This movie is apparently set many years after the events of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, with Leatherface now a much older man. Here's his quote: "It is a direct sequel. It is the same character. It is an old man Leatherface," Alvarez confirmed. So, with that quote, let's just go ahead and talk about that. So I know that you guys in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise kind of pulled the trigger on doing a legacy sequel before Halloween 2018 kind of showed people the way it should be done. And I kind of have a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot of that. And we have already seen some of that, and there's plans for more of that. I kind of have my opinions that Scream in 2022 is going to be reminiscent of a legacy sequel. We'll see. I don't know. But that's apparently what they're going for here. Kind of a disregard all these sequels. This is a sequel to the original. We're going to continue from where the story was at its most potent, which is generally the original. I think most people agree with that. And don't get me wrong, there's been some stinkers in this franchise. Now, personally, I think the original is a classic, one of the best horror films ever made. Tobe Hooper's a genius. I think the sequel is amazing, Texas Chainsaw 2. I like Leatherface, the older one, Texas Chainsaw 3. I think it was a decent enough follow-up. I know the Next Generation, most people consider it a bad film. I have a soft spot for it. I do kind of enjoy it. The remake is one of the best remakes in the history of horror. The beginning is way better than what you think. When someone tells you, "Oh, we're going to make a prequel to the remake of this film," that sounds awful. But it's really an underrated movie. It's pretty good. But then after that, it just goes downhill. You've got Texas Chainsaw 3D, which is what I think this movie is trying to correct, which was bad. I mean, that's the Do You Thing Cuz movie. And then you have Leatherface, the most recent installment, which didn't even feel like a Texas Chainsaw movie. It felt like someone took a horror film and slap Texas Chainsaw on it so they could make a buck. It was bad. The last couple have been really bad, and that's why I was saying at the beginning of this video, this franchise really needs to knock one out of the park, or people are just going to stop caring about this franchise. And as far as continuing it, you can't really do much to take away from the legacy of the original or some of the older films in this franchise, but I don't think people are going to be interested in seeing new installments if you just keep fucking it up, keep botching it every single time. So you guys already pulled the trigger on Texas Chainsaw 3D. You tried your hand in a legacy sequel. It didn't work. It was bad. It just wasn't good. It also featured Old Man Leatherface. Wasn't really big on that portrayal of Leatherface, how he was used in that film. I'm hoping what they do here is correct all the mistakes they made with Texas Chainsaw 3D and make a good legacy sequel. That's what I'm hoping. And with someone like Fede Alvarez producing, what he did with the Evil Dead remake or reboot or whatever you want to call it, I have to say I have some confidence in that, because I got to tell you, you don't talk about remakes being good with the Texas Chainsaw remake from 2003 being good. That Evil Dead from, I'm wanting to say 2013 was awesome. Good shit. So there's one side of my brain that's like, it's Fede Alvarez. Like, he's got this. And then the other side of my brain is like, oh shit, he's not directing. And they're basically trying to do Texas Chainsaw 3D over again. Hopefully better. I don't know if it can get any worse, but hopefully better. So we'll continue on with this article here. It says Alvarez also noted in the chat with the Boo Crew that the new movie is taking an old school approach with the gore gags being executed practically whenever possible. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. I'm certainly not the only horror fan that's going to appreciate that. That seems to be kind of a universal thing that most of us gore hounds really appreciate. Practical effects over CGI whenever possible. So thumbs up there. I got nothing bad to say about that. Quote, everything is classic, old school gags. A lot of the approach that we had with Evil Dead. Yes. Never VFX to do everything on camera. It's a very old school approach to filmmaking. Vintage lenses, very similar to the original film, Alvarez explained to the podcast. And that sounds really good to me. Like, honestly, these are small, maybe at least on the surface, but things that I think, maybe has been needed in this franchise for a while. The 2013 film Texas Chainsaw 3D was similarly a sequel to the original Chainsaw, with that film also centered around Old Man Leatherface. So, yeah, I'm not the only one that noticed, let's just say. For that movie, Dan Yeager played the character the late Gunnar Hansen first brought to the screen, which, by the way, it was just his birthday last week. So, yeah, sad. Kind of wish we could have that moment like we did with Nick Castle playing Michael Myers, for nothing else but in that one scene. It was really cool. It would be cool to have Gunnar Hansen, if he were still around, play maybe one scene as Leather. But unfortunately, we're not going to get that. And at this time, we don't know yet who will be carrying the chainsaw in the Alvarez produced take on a Chainsaw sequel. So yeah, it just kind of goes down here at the bottom to kind of tell you more about who's involved in the project. We've kind of gone over some of this on the show here before, on the channel before, on the video I made. It must have been last year at this point. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, you always kind of have to go into these things with, I think, I guess the best way to put it would be like, don't have your expectations too high is what I want to say. And I'll be real with you, up until now, when the only thing we really knew is it's a Texas Chainsaw movie, it might be kind of a legacy sequel type thing, coming just based off the original. Fede Alvarez is going to be behind it in some capacity. I had some pretty high hopes for it. But the more I think about it, the more it's just like, I'm getting a little nervous about this one. So I'm hoping that my nerves aren't true. I'm hoping that this film ends up being really good, because like I said, they really need to knock one out of the park. In my opinion, I think this next Texas Chainsaw is kind of make or break for the franchise, between continuing theatrical releases or just being straight to video releases. And I mean, it happened to Hellraiser, And I'm still waiting on Hellraiser to really knock one out of the park. I mean, the sequels, they're hit or miss. Obviously, I think they diminished in quality up until maybe the last one, which I think was a little bit better with the Auditor. But at the end of the day, man, I mean, some of these franchises have just bled these characters in these films dry. And far be it for me to say stop making sequels to some of these films, because I enjoy a lot of these sequels. But I got to tell you, when you get backed into a corner and you get to the point to where it's like it's just regurgitated garbage with little to no return financially, and critically just shitting all over it. I mean, you got to do something at some point in time. And these movies haven't been good since the remake series, those two they made in the early 2000s. Honestly, it's just my opinion, but I'm sure there are others that share that. I know Texas Chainsaw 3D was generally hailed as shit, and most people that I've talked to weren't really big on the new Leatherface film they had, a 2017, I think it was, either. So, regardless how you feel about it, I think we can all agree this franchise needs one to be knocked out of the park. I wish Fede Alvarez was directing, but I think him producing and some of the things he said in this article could prove to be beneficial to not only this film, but the entire franchise overall. So, with that said, it's your turn to sign off, ladies, and sound off. Jesus Christ. Comment, leave comments. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you all think about this. What's your confidence level going in to the next Texas Chainsaw Massacre film? Like, how you feeling about it? How do you feel about this news? Fingers crossed we don't get another do you thing cuz moment out of this movie. If nothing else, if we don't get that, I'll consider it a fucking success in some ways. So, like I said, drop me a comment. Let me know what you all think about this. Leave a like if you've enjoyed this video. Subscribe and turn on notifications by clicking that little bell if you'd like to know whenever I go live or upload. And check down below in the description section where you'll see a couple of links. One to follow me on Twitter. That's @bloody_brand. Or you could even support my work on Patreon, and I would be so very grateful if you would do that. That would be just the bee's knees. Fan-fucking-tastic. I'd give you a big fucking smooch. You probably don't want that, so I won't give you a big fucking smooch. Just, supporting the channel's great. I would appreciate it. And, yeah, let me know what you all think. With that said, I'm Brand from Bloody Breakdown. Fingers crossed that Fede Alvarez pulls this franchise out of the gutter, and we'll catch you all next time.